E3 2018 just happened, and there's one thing that bugged me quite a bit, and that's Sony's presentation. Now, let's face it, Sony's presentation wasn't really a presentation to begin with, it was more of a showcase of the 4 main titles that they had to show. However, I thought it was a rather underwhelming presentation. I thought the presentation was rather underwhelming, and when I say underwhelming, I don't mean the content they showed, I mean the presentation itself, and to be honest, it was quite weird what they decided to go for this time around compared to the last 2 years, which, to be honest, worked better than they did this year. And don't get me wrong, this is my opinion. I'm not trying to convince you, and I'm definitely not insulting Sony. I love Sony, and I have loved Sony for most of my life through my childhood. Which is probably the main reason why I'm giving them criticism for this. Again, the presentation was underwhelming and not the content. We saw The Last of Us 2, The Death Stranding, Spider-Man, and Ghost of Tsushima. They all looked amazing, along with 1 or 2 extras, such as Control. However, the presentation itself seemed a little pointless having 2 locations. I know that Sony wanted to go for this whole, journey. They wanted to take us on a journey and show us the again, journey that these titles have been through, or going through, or give some deeper meaning behind it all, but I don't quite think what they wanted happened as well as they wanted it to. This is coming from a global viewer who isn't in America or didn't attend E3, who watched it on live streams, and that is probably the key point that I wanted to bring up. The whole thing seemed a bit gimmicky, first starting in a different location, and then moving on to a different venue after the first game was shown. The intermission where we had a little live stream intermission bit seemed a bit awkward. Having multiple venues to show off your showcase is gimmicky, and it's at the global viewers' disadvantage. Local viewers who actually attended E3 and were sat there in the showcase presentation, they got the full Monty, but to be honest, if I was there, I'd be thinking the exact same thing. Why am I getting up to move to a different place? It took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of something they could have shown us instead, replaced that. It just felt a little too awkward to me, to be honest. That being said, the musician intervals that we had at the very start by Gustavo, who was absolutely phenomenal, and the man blowing the pipe... I'm not hating on him, but it did kind of feel out of place. And after the whole intermission of them shuffling around and giving us little tidbits that quite didn't really sustain us for that long or at all, to be honest, it didn't mix well with the instrumental creatures that were on screen either. Apparently that's from a game or some sort of Sony thing. I don't know, but I didn't get it. I'm pretty sure most of the crowd, some of the crowd, I should say, didn't get it either. And to be honest, mixing that with how long we had been waiting for kind of dulled it down a little bit. It didn't mix well. We kind of wanted it to just get to the point. Again, the content that was being showed was fantastic. They obviously had a selective showcase. However, that selective showcase seems quite limited. I know they showed quite a few things, like you got your Resident Evil 2 remake, you've got your Control, you got your 4 main titles that they showed. But the showcase, minus the intermissions, seemed a bit lacking, and to be honest, a bit disappointing. Where we had intermissions or the change in venue, we could have had games that they're continuing to release trailers for on their YouTube channel. PlayStation's YouTube channel have been constantly flowing out different trailers for different games at the moment, and I'm kind of wondering, where was that in the E3 showcase presentation? Where was Days Gone? Days Gone is a huge title that should have been there. They're releasing more and more trailers on the YouTube channel that I kind of am wondering, why aren't they showing it now here? Don't get me wrong, overall, the Sony presentation was impressive, if you minus the negatives. However, there was a percentage vote on the YouTube Gaming live stream, I believe. I think it's YouTube Gaming, hosted by Jeff, and they took a vote of who, quote unquote, won E3 this year. However, Sony only got 8% of votes, and I kind of feel that kind of shows public opinion overall of how they felt. I was watching the live stream for the Sony presentation, and in the chat, everyone was shocked to see it end so early. And comparing the results from this percentage vote thing, it's clear what they could have done differently, or what they should have done. They should have done what they have been doing for the last couple of years. I remember sitting there and watching the Resident Evil 7 reveal trailer, or the God of War reveal trailer, in that massive, amazing theatre almost. I do prefer the traditional presentations over what they've done here. I don't quite understand why they've gone for this route. I think it limited themselves, and I think it kind of underdid themselves as well. It was very underwhelming for me. And to reiterate, the content wasn't bad, but the presentation itself was very underwhelming. I mean, Sony's in enough trouble at the moment already with the Nintendo Sony Fortnite account thing. If you don't know what's happening about that, Sony's basically not letting you use a Fortnite account if you've used it even once on PlayStation, if you move over to Nintendo and play Fortnite. That's a bit Stone Age shit right there, Sony, and I don't quite understand what you're doing. There's enough bullshit talking about not having cross-platform play. Now you're not even letting other people from your platform go anywhere else if they want to. You're already sort of in the lead at this point. You need to just let go and think about where you'd be if you did do that. Anyway, those were my thoughts and my criticism. It could have been better, but I am impressed and so stoked for Death Stranding and Spider-Man and The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima. But yeah, that's my complaint. I'll see you in a bit.